He said, nothing broke his heart more. He said, how can this be? That, again, the notion of dehumanizing a whole group of people is consistent. And I think that, you're probably familiar with Without Sanctuary, which is the lynchings, the book of lynchings. Yeah. And in 2005, the first apology, and many representative senators didn't sign off on that apology even then. But it took that long. It took 6 presidents to outlaw it. Now I want you to consider that. Consider the fact that, America, and how could you, in knowing that those lynchings, who it was. And this wasn't during slavery. You don't lynch your property. Let's be clear. It was a Klan and after slavery that those lynching, hence Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit.
Right.
So you talked about the injury to white people. When you look at that book, and I, certainly not table reading, but if you look at that book and you look at the pictures, you see children. You don't see the fat, buck teeth, redneck, balding, pot-bellied Klan member. You see plain old common folk, little children looking at bodies. And the only way, there's a picture in particular, most people know about it. This little girl is looking at a black man who is hanging from a tree. Not far away is where they're eating. She's looking, everybody's in their Sunday best. Children, adults, youth, everybody's staring around it. But this one little girl is looking up at this slave, or this black man, whatever she deemed him, smiling, a smirk on her face. This is a child. The only way she would not be horrified, which she should be, because she would be more horrified if there was a puppy hanging from that tree. But she wasn't horrified looking at that man because he was no longer human to her. And that's what happened to white people. That's what happened. That ability to make that person invisible. Sister, in here, there's a sister who wrote an article. She's a physician. And she says, this is 2006. She says, when my black skin makes my white coat invisible. And again, we're talking about contemporary. Why are we invisible in 2006? Why now we're talking about a physician, and everybody's looking for everybody but her. And she's standing in front of them, so they manage to read the badge because they can't believe she's a physician they're coming in to see. I mean, these are things that have been consistent. Katrina should be no surprise to anyone. Certainly wasn't one for me. They are not human. And what did the media do? Made them not human. Said that they were rapists and looters. White people, however, who were finding resources, but black people were looting. I mean, all of it, they even told you how to internalize and interpret what you were looking at. And that's what everyone wrapped themselves in and went to sleep.
There's been a lot of attention to the dispersal of residents who the hurricane displaced, and they've been placed all over the country. There's not been much detailed discussion, though, about the emotional impact that this has on a man or a woman or the children.
That is probably the most blatant wrong, the most blatant wrong. Not only have you not heard a discussion of what are the mental health needs or the physical needs of these people. There's, we have all kinds of, when 9/11 happened, when the tsunami happened, wasn't even here. We were talking about if your child is having difficulty sleeping, if they're bedwetting, they started doing, whole panels of people talking about how to help American children with seeing the tsunami. You ever hear that about what black children felt? Either the ones there or looking, because they don't matter. They don't matter. Now, we developed a group of African-American professionals. I know black African-American mental health professionals went over. They were never viewed, though. No one ever got that story. But we saw post-traumatic stress disorder. We saw suicide ideation. We saw hopelessness, helplessness, and more than anything else, we see continued death. That's what's going on right now. But you don't hear about it. They're the invisible people. They're the people that don't count. And no, there was no real major response to the mental health needs of those people that are there. And they are dying in record numbers right now.
On those last two words, right now, we're faced with a number of horrific obstacles to peace and justice. We see that there is an economic malaise where masses are being laid off of their jobs, many of them of color. We also see the growing prison industrial complex. We also see the importation at the same time of those from foreign countries. and the outsourcing of what were American jobs to sweatshops around the world. There's been a lot of discussion about that, but my question is, where is this heading, Dr. Larry?
Where probably is very obvious for everyone where
is
it's
it going to
heading.
hit the fan?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely going to hit the fan. And the thing about it is that I think we're all going to be witnesses. We're watching the whole thing happen. It's unfolding in front of us. Like we don't know. But like I said, we have lived in America with the elephant in the room. We won't deal with it. We'll just dress it up, throw a little perfume on it. Maybe we could put some curtains on it. But there's a great big old elephant. And that elephant is all coming full circle. Coming full circle, where either you're going to deal with it or it's going to take you down. This will be America's undoing if we don't get on this issue immediately. If we don't start telling the truth. America is doing the same thing we've always done. You know, we need a cheap or slave labor force. It's always been there. It's always been there. And then we've got to figure out how to control these masses of people of color. And, well, you got a couple places. One is at Prison Industrial Complex. I tell you, when I went to Rikers, I was Rikers, you know, that was my truly a life-changing moment. I asked how many inmates were in there, and they said approximately 14,000. And then I asked, what is the demographics ethnically? And they said 85% black. I go, oh, my goodness, there's something really wrong with this picture. But it persists. And it persists because we are made to believe that that's who and what we are. So much so, Gil, that it is amazing. And my audiences of people, and like I said, I've talked to people from every branch, from everywhere. Sometimes there'll be a huge audience here in New York. You know, matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do a talk. Hundreds of people, 600, 700 people in the audience. I'll have them bring the lights up. I said, look around you. You know who you are? I said, you're good people. You're just plain good people. No, not people without foibles and making mistakes. I said, but you're good people. My mother and father were good people. They raised me to be a good person. But we weren't without our broken parts. We weren't without our injuries. But we were good people. And that's my experience as a black woman, almost 50. My experience is that we're good people. But that's not what's being told to us. That is not what's being shown to us. And surely, of every group, of every ethnicity, there are those folks that are really, really twisted. But it's not most of us. And I think that has a profound impact on the people. You know, Randall said it when we were together. He says the worst thing you can do to a people is to rob them of the memory of themselves. We begin to stop believing. I bring the lights up. I said, so no matter what you see on television, remember this is who, for the most part, we are. Good people, just trying to do our lives.
There's a saying that the longest river on the planet, actually it's a fact, is the Nile. And so one of the big problems that America has, both black and white, is denial.
Is denial. It'll kill us. It's going to kill us.
What do you say about this phenomena among African Americans who have done well?
Mm-hmm.
And yet their activism or their involvement leaves a lot to be desired?
Well, you know, there are a couple of things. Like I said, we're injured. You have folks we spoke of earlier from the continent that are bleaching their skins. You know, you have black people who don't want to be black. You have black people doing well, you know. Interestingly enough, they're doing well, really doing well, but don't want to be identified. When I would just kind of give you a point, when I was in Oxford, when I presented at Oxford, which was well received, by the way, in Oxford, there were black people who were trying to figure out, I don't know if I'm going to sit next to her at dinner.